Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Bashong with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance. Welcome to another Ally interview. Today I'm joined by Karen Berube, a caregiver who lost her husband Mark to this disease last year. But as you will soon learn, she took her pain and turned it into action so others do not have to feel the way she felt after his passing. And she's also made nearly 1,000 masks to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, many of which have gone to cancer patients. Thank you so much for being here today, Karen, and sharing your story with us.
Sure, happy to.
So how are you doing?
Fine.
That's good. One of the reasons your story came to our attention was you began a 1 in 24 fundraising campaign for the Alliance, raising $581 at last check in less than 24 hours. It's a really amazing achievement that will help a lot of people. So I was hoping maybe we could begin by you telling us a little bit about how you did that.
Sure. As you said, I lost my husband, Mark, this year. So a number of reasons why the 1 in 24 campaign worked for us. The first of all was it was a really easy, quick campaign, easy to reach out, simple message, very powerful message. And then because my husband suffered for 8 years and we lost him last July, almost a year ago now, a lot of our friends followed the journey and saw how having this disease, having colorectal cancer, is really life-altering for the entire family, and really does a job on a family and really takes a toll on them. And so, you know, I had a really generous group of friends who have supported me all year, continued to support me, and supported us through the journey anyway. And so it's just a very easy reach out. And I think we collected, you know, we had hoped to make $250 or $240 plus my $10 to start the campaign. And we did that in just a couple of hours.
Wow. Did you do all of that fundraising on Facebook?
All on Facebook. Yeah, I didn't do any reaching out. I didn't do any pre-warning. From time to time, when we hit different milestones this past year, we've posted a picture of Mark, made a comment, and everybody's really been supportive and reached out. So it was very easy. And they know that my mission now is to help other families who are dealing with the whole cancer journey and try to help in some way.
We are so grateful for that and for you. I do want to mention for our viewers that the 1 in 24 campaign is named that way because a person's average lifetime risk of developing this disease is 1 in 24. If you're interested in being like Karen and joining this campaign, 1 in 24, you can learn more about it at bit.ly/1 in 24. I'll also put a link to it under this video. Thank you for sharing all of that, Karen. It really is really great what you've done. But I'd like to learn more now about your husband, Mark. Can you tell me a little bit about him and his journey?
Sure. He was diagnosed in 2011, and he's an aerospace engineer, government contractor, very hardworking, workaholic, if you will. And this disease sort of stopped him in his tracks. I mean, it's just really powerful. He was diagnosed at stage 4. I think it wasn't really a matter of him. He had ulcerative colitis before that. And it wasn't a matter of him missing or ignoring the symptoms. He had to postpone a regularly scheduled colonoscopy, and because his blood pressure was high. And so while they tried to get his blood pressure under control, I think it put him at further risk. So when he did get his colonoscopy, he was diagnosed. And that started the journey. He went through the Virginia cancer specialists, helped him. through his journey, and they were really supportive, moved him from one phase to the next as medications became less effective. And he ended up having to leave his job. He went on long-term disability, and he ended up at home sort of managing that, which was, difficult for somebody who worked so hard.
I bet. How old was he when he was diagnosed?
Well, let's see, he passed away when he was 56, so 48.
Yeah.
And I neglected to say one of the reasons why I've continued sort of following this disease and helping out with it or whatever, trying to support, is because I know my kids' risk is that much higher. And, I want to make sure that they're well aware that they can't ignore any symptoms and to get tested as early as possible and just to stay on top of things.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
We have three. One is my oldest is a sports broadcaster in Harrisburg. My middle child's at Penn State. And my youngest was just accepted to the University of Michigan to the business school.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks.
So we're still in the middle of a pandemic, believe it or not. And you've been something of a superstar, creating masks for people to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Can you tell us what you've been doing?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't expect to be doing this. I lost my job when Mark was in ICU 6 months before he died, and I became a full-time caregiver, which was like a whole nother world. Even though I had been caring for him for 8 years, it's different when you're the front line. And so I just decided to, after he passed, to keep working towards helping people. And I was sewing already because I was making quilts for younger cancer patients. And a friend of mine said, you should be making masks. And I said, well, the CDC says that homemade masks aren't going to really work. And then they sort of changed their tune when everybody needed masks, but they were in short supply. So I just started making them, and I reached out to my neighbors and my family. I said, I don't know how effective these are, but I'm making them. So I'm happy to sew you masks. And that basically was 3 months ago. And just on a whim, I reached out to the Virginia cancer specialists and said, I'm making these masks. I know they're not totally effective, but, I'm trying to help out. And they responded immediately and said, can you make us some? And I was like, well, if you want me to, sure. And so I just started making them dozens of masks, and other groups have joined in. So I have a pediatrician that picks up masks once a week, and it just sort of snowballed. And I realized as I was keeping count that now I think this week I'm going to hit 1,000.
Wow, that's so incredible. Just amazing of you. One question I've been asking folks during these interviews is who they're isolating with, and how everything's going with that. So what's the situation for you?
So my 2 youngest kids are with me. I'm going to be a complete empty nester come fall. I'm hoping they both go off to school. We're anxiously waiting to hear what the universities will do. But both of them will be in college. I plan to keep sewing. So, but for me, I think going through the grief process, going through this COVID, if I wasn't sewing, I think I'd be a little lost. It's sort of given me a focus, and I feel like I'm still helping. I laugh every time somebody picks up the masks and says, oh, this is the greatest thing. I'm like, you get them anywhere, but it feels good. I obviously amassed a huge amount of material in the last few years. So it's also assuaging my guilt. I'm using my stash. But I find that if you have a project to work on during things like this, it helps. So this is my project.
Good. I was remiss in following up on your answer to the last question. You had said that caregiving is sort of a whole different world. Were there any resources or anything that, helped you with that maybe others could benefit from?
So I would have to say, reach out to your family and friends. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid to just say, I could use a break. I know there are special programs, there are support groups that you can go to, but at the end, probably in the last 2 months or so, my husband had reached a stage where he was very anxious about my leaving the house, and kind of caught me by surprise. But he had both times that he had been at the hospital in that recent period of time had been because he tried to do something he shouldn't have done and either got very faint or whatever. So he had gotten to the point where he really didn't want me to go shopping, even if it was something he needed. So I started using a lot of the home shopping networks for food delivery. I found that that was worth doing because it gave everybody peace of mind. I could still get the supplies, didn't have to leave the house. But I would say just checking in on someone that you know is going through that, asking them, if you can stop by, bring coffee, say hi, just to break it up, because it's going from a professional job to something where you're basically just fetching a lot for the person you're caring for. Feels like you're really stepping back from being responsible, and yet you're doing something that's invaluable. When I lost my job, I was angry, and then I realized that is what I needed to do because he
Yeah.
needed more help.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things I hear from caregivers quite often, and honestly, patients and survivors too, is that when people offer you help, you need to learn to say yes. Your gut reaction
absolutely.
is to say no, but you gotta say yes because you need that help.
Well, we actually, just a side note, my husband was so conscious of people knowing that he was sick, that we didn't really tell anybody until the last couple of years. So he was a baseball coach and for Little League, and he went through the entire Little League process with my son, who was 9 when he was diagnosed, and he's 17 now. And most of the people who came to his wake were baseball friends who didn't know he was sick. And he was very sick during that time, but he was determined not to let everybody know. So there was nobody to reach out to help me because they didn't know I needed help.
Wow.
So yeah, so I would say that's the other thing for patients. Like, don't be embarrassed. It's a disease. It's not something you did. Like, get help, reach out, let people be there for you.
Not at all. It's perfectly fine to let people know that this has come into your life and is impacting you greatly.
Absolutely.
Finally, Karen, thank you so much for sharing all of this. I want to end with your thoughts on, why we need to end colorectal cancer in our lifetime.
So I'm blessed that cancer doesn't run in my family, but Mark's family, it's very prevalent. Lung cancer, uterine cancer, colorectal cancer. And I've seen what it does to families.
Mm-hmm.
So try not to lose it here, but it's powerful. And I think we got to do something about it.
We do. And the Colorectal Cancer Alliance is really trying hard to do exactly that. And we can't do it without people like you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Karen. Thank you for everything you've done, will do, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Sure. Thank you.